Hello students, so today we are going to start with new chapter, gravitation. This is lecture number 1 of gravitation. Gravitation is comparatively short chapter and a very interesting and an easy chapter. Particularly in this chapter we are going to see Newton's universal law of gravitation. We are also going to see how the acceleration due to gravity changes with respect to height, with respect to depth, what is gravitational potential and potential energy, what is escape energy of a speed, escape energy of a particle and escape speed of a particle, right? That means to throw any object out of the gravitational field of Earth or any other planet, what should be the energy we should impart on the object, what should be the speed of the object when it escapes from the Earth's gravitational field. We'll see the types of satellites, natural, polar satellites. We'll see the derivation of time period of satellites, right? So it's very interesting and an easy chapter. We'll first start with Kepler's law of planetary motion, right? Already in the lower classes in the science subject you must have gone through this laws, Kepler's law, right? There are three Kepler's law. Then first in this video we'll see the laws of Kepler and then we'll solve one or two questions based on Kepler's law, and then we'll start with Newton's law of universal gravitation. Clear? So Kepler's law of planetary motion. Let us discuss the first law of Kepler, right? See, actually the statements or the laws which are being said by any scientist are to be written as it is, right? So you have to write the law as per the given, as per it is given in your book, right? I'll just explain you the law and we'll also see the proof of Kepler's second and third law, right? See, Kepler's first law. According to first law of Kepler, he said that all the planets will revolve in an elliptical orbit, all the planets will revolve in an elliptical orbit with sun situated at one of the foci. All the planets will revolve in an elliptical orbit with sun situated at one of the foci. Okay, what is ellipse, what is elliptical orbit? This is what we are going to see first. You will require a bit of maths in this law. Say, according to Kepler, this is ellipse. Ellipse will have a shape almost of a potato type shape, right? I have not drawn the ellipse perfectly, but that's okay. I'll try once more. Okay, right? This shape is known as ellipse, or you can say if you are compressing a circle, then the shape will be similar to ellipse, or you can say shape of potato almost, that is a shape of ellipse. Now first we'll understand a little bit of what is ellipse and what is eccentricity, what are foci, then we'll understand this law again. So this is known as AB, is known as length of major axis. This axis is known as major axis. AB is known as length of major axis. This is known as center of ellipse. It's known as center of ellipse. AB is known as length of major axis, and let us say this as X and Y. So XY is known as length of minor axis. This is your minor axis, right? This is your major axis. Now, this distance is A, this will be also A. So, length of major axis will be 2A. A is any constant. Clear? Length of major axis will be 2A. This is B, this is B. So, length of minor axis will be 2B. Right? So, AB, which is known as length of major axis, it will be equals to 2A, and XY, length of minor axis, it will be equals to 2B. Right? So, this length CB, this is known as semi-major axis, so this length will be A. Similarly, this will be also A, and CX, right? This is length of semi-minor axis, which can be taken as B. Once again, this is major axis, AB is known as length of major axis, XY is known as length of minor axis. The length of major axis is known as length of major axis is 2A and length of minor axis be 2B. From the center, this length will be B and this will be A. Okay. Now, what are foci? Okay. So, equation to represent ellipse, like we had seen in the chapter motion in a straight line, y equals to mx plus c. This is the equation to represent a line, right? X square plus y square equals to r square. This is equation of a circle, perfectly circle. This was of that of a line. Similarly, equation for ellipse is x square by a square plus y square by b square equals to 1, where a and b are the length of semi, major and minor axis. This is a standard equation for ellipse. Standard equation for ellipse. Okay, and the relation between B and A is given as B square is equals to A square into 1 minus E square. This is the relation between B square and A square. You will learn more in your math subject, but the things which are required over here, that is what I am explaining. Once again, I will recall it. 2A is the length of major axis, 2B is the length of minor axis, A is the length of semi-major axis, B is the length of semi-minor axis. This is the standard equation to represent ellipse, x square by a square plus y square by b square equals to 1. B and A are related as b square equals to a square into 1 minus e square, where E is known as eccentricity. E is known as eccentricity. See, what does eccentricity represents? Eccentricity represents, E stands for eccentricity. For ellipse, B and A are related as b square equals to a square 1 minus e square. Eccentricity represents how much your ellipse is being squashed. How much your ellipse is being squashed. Or you can also say that how much your circle which is being compressed. That means I'll explain you in a different manner. Suppose that take E equals to 0. Take eccentricity as 0. Suppose if eccentricity is taken 0, b square will be equals to a square into 1 minus 0. So b square will be equals to a square, right? B square is equals to a square. Substitute in b square equals to a square in this equation. It will be x square by a square plus y square by a square equals to 1. So it will be x square plus y square equals to a square. So this was the equation of circle, right? So if there is no eccentricity, that means if eccentricity is 0, this will look, or it will be a circle. More the value of eccentricity, more will be this circle will be more compressed, or it will look more elliptical. Better way to say is this, okay, more the value of E, it will look more like ellipse. So how much ellipse is being squashed, is being made, will be known by the value of E. Clear? Right? More the value of E, more it will look like ellipse. Clear? Okay. So eccentricity represents how much ellipse is being squashed. Now if suppose generally the value of E lies between 0 and 1, right? So if you are having the value of E as, you can take any 1 by 2, 0.5, so then B square will be equals to A square into 1 minus A square. Substitute the value, A square 1 minus 1 by 2 the whole square. So B square equals to A square into 1 minus 1 by 4. So B square equals to 3A square by 4. This will be the relation between A and B. Clear? Right? Okay. Now, from the center of the ellipse, generally I say the value of eccentricity will be any number between 0 and 1. Okay. From the center of the ellipse, a fixed distance, say A, fixed distance A. Of course, A will be less than A because A is any number between 0 and 1. Right? So if you are taking E as 1 by 2, then AE will be equals to A by 2. So it will be exactly at half. Clear? So AE, this point is known as focus of ellipse. Right? So focus of ellipse is a fixed point which is at a distance A from the center of the ellipse. So it will have another focus at this point also. Let this be F2, let this be F1, this will be minus A. If you are writing the distance, then it has to be written as A. Clear? So once again, from the center of the ellipse, the fixed distance A, right? There will be a point which will be known as the focus of ellipse. Similarly, at a distance minus A from the center, there will be another point which is known as second focus. Right? So according to, now come back to the first law of Kepler. According to Kepler's first law is saying that sun situated at one of the foci, that means sun can be either at this point or at this, and planet will revolve in an elliptical orbit. So let us say sun is at this distance. Sun is at this distance, right? At this foci. Say this as F1. So planet will be revolving in this orbit. This is what his first law is. Sun situated at one of the foci. Either you can take this or you can take this. This will be the center, this will be another foci, right? So sun situated at one of the foci, planet will revolve in an elliptical orbit, right? Okay, now scientists used to believe that the speed, the velocity of the planet will be different at different points. That means if planet is at this point, say it is having a velocity v1, here it will have a velocity v2, here it will have a velocity v3. That means the velocity of the planet which is revolving in an elliptical orbit is not constant, it will be changing. Now, sun at one of the foci, planet, right? So when planet is at this point, it is nearest to the sun, and when it comes at this point, after covering this, at this point the planet is at farthest point. So this is the minimum distance, right, between a planet and a sun, and this is the maximum distance between sun and the planet. Now we'll see what is R minimum, what is R maximum. Okay, so this distance where planet is nearest to the sun, this distance is known as, closest distance is known as perihelion. Closest distance of planet from sun is called as perihelion, or you can say perigee, either of the things, right? That is right? And say this has many point, you can say that P and this at Q. So when planet is at point Q, it will be at the farthest point. So this farthest distance is known as aphelion, or you can say apogee, right? Apogee is the farthest distance of planet from the sun, and the closest distance of planet from the sun is known as periphelion or perigee. Okay, we'll find out this distance, what is our minimum, what is our maximum, right? Okay, clear? Remember this name? Now, our minimum. So what is this distance? A, right? And this will be the length of semi-major axis, which will be A, right? So our minimum can be removed as, this is A, this is A, this is your R minimum. So it will be A minus A. A can be taken common, 1 minus A. This is your minimum distance or perigee. Clear? Similarly, this is distance wise, this is A and this is A. So maximum distance will be A plus A. A can be taken common. So R max. Clear? Done? Okay. So this is R minimum and R maximum. Okay, what is area of ellipse? Area of ellipse will be pi into A into B. This you should know, because in 2019 JEE the question was asked on the basis of area of ellipse. After completing these laws, we will solve this question, but note it down. Area of ellipse is pi into A into B, where A and B are the length of semi-major and minor axis. Okay, fine. We can also find the total energy. We can also find the speed of the planet at each and every instant. Fine, but this we'll see step by step. So this was your first law of Kepler, right? So now we'll understand what is Kepler's second law of Kepler. We have seen that sun situated at one of the foci and planet will revolve in an elliptical orbit, right? That means this was the case where sun was at one of the foci and planet revolve in an elliptical orbit. Now you can consider sun at this point or at this foci, no problem. We had considered over here in the first law, so let us go here. We had seen that what is minimum distance, what is maximum distance, what was area of ellipse. Now the planet which is revolving in an elliptical orbit moves with different speed at different points. That means at this point the velocity of planet is say v1, and at this point the velocity is say v2. So at this point the velocity of planet be v3. So it was being observed that when planet is nearer to sun, right, the velocity of planet will be more, and when the planet is away from the sun, velocity of planet will be less, right? This is because of the gravitational force, which we will be studying. But from Kepler's second law also we can understand that why velocity is less when planet is away from the sun, it is more at a more distance from the sun. That means from this diagram we can say that v1 will be greater than v3, because v1 is nearer to the sun and v3, this distance is more, right? Okay. Now according to Kepler's second law, it states that the aerial velocity of the planet will remain constant throughout the motion, or it sweeps equal area in equal interval of time. The area swept by the planet in equal interval of time will be equal. This is what is Kepler's second law. Area swept by the planet in equal interval of time, in equal intervals of time, is equal. So what does Kepler's second law means? We'll understand that, and we'll also prove this second law. See, according to Kepler's second law, here it was the sun. Suppose the planet is at this point at a time t1. Planet is revolving. Let the planet reach here at any time, say t2. Then planet will be here at time t3 and planet will be, say, somewhere here at time t4. So these are the 4 different positions shown of the planet. At time t1 the planet is at this point, at time t2 it is at this point, t3 and t4. So according to second law, Kepler's second law, if t4 minus t3 equals to t2 minus t1, make it clear, if time interval is same, that means if we are taking any 10 seconds from t1 from this point to this point, and here also if the planet is taking 10 seconds, only then the area swept by the planet a1, let this area be a2, this area be a1, then we can say that a1 equals to a2. Clear? That means planet sweeps equal area in equal interval of time, or if time is equal, then only the area covered by the planet will be same. Clear? This is also known as areal velocity, rate of change of area. Like dx by dt was known as linear velocity, so dA by dt will be known as areal velocity. Area covered upon time taken, that is known as areal velocity. So according to Kepler's second law, area will be equal if span of time or time interval is same. Clear? It means, see, from this point also we can say that yes, when the planet is farther from the sun, it has to move with less velocity, only then this statement or this law will be equal. See, here it is moving with greater velocity, so it has covered this much portion, right? If with the same velocity planet moves here, then it would have covered this much portion, more than this portion, this much, then definitely this area will be greater than this. So this is broader in this sense, this is not broader, so the areas will be equal, and this means that yes, of course, the planet will be moving slower when it is at farther distance from the sun. So this area, this is small, this is big, and in this area, this portion is big, this is small. So area can be calculated, it can be equal. Clear? So for this two area to be equal, compulsory planet must have moved with lesser velocity. Only then these two areas will be same. Clear? Right? So according to Kepler's second law, area covered upon time taken, that means a1 by t1 equals to a2 by t2 equals to, say, a3 by t3, anything. Clear? Or for smaller area we can write that dA by dt. dA is the area covered, dt is the time taken, this is constant, and this is known as areal velocity. We will prove this, that areal velocity is constant. What is areal velocity? Rate of area covered. Okay. Now, for this we will take one concept of rotational motion, the previous one. See. Say this is sun. Suppose that planet is here at time t1, and after a very short span of time, say dt, after a very short span of time, say dt, planet is at this point. So it has covered this area. Let this distance be r. It has covered this area, right? So actually, this is how the covered area looks like. Clear? This is how the covered area looks like. So for a very short interval of time, the planet has just covered this distance. So this r can be treated as a straight line, because the distance covered in a time interval dt, because we are taking very less time, we are taking the time dt. So in a very short span of time dt, the area covered will be very less. So let us take this as right. So here the velocity be v, velocity is v, and time taken by the planet to move from one point to another is dt. So this length will be, length is speed into time, so it will be v into dt, right? So now this will be a triangle. So what is area of triangle? Area covered is dA. For a very short interval of time, I am calculating this for a very short interval of time dt, and so I have taken arc as a straight line, and area covered will be dA. So area covered dA will be half base into height, so that is v dt into r, right? So what was aerial velocity? dA by dt. This has to be constant. This is what we are going to prove. Take dt at this side, so dA by dt equals to VR by 2, VR by 2, fine. Now see, in Newton's law of motion, we have seen that F is equals to dP by dt, rate of change of momentum is equals to the force applied. If external force is 0, dP by dt will be 0, that means momentum will remain constant. This was all about linear motion. This was all about linear motion. In our case, the planet is performing rotational motion. So for rotational motion, torque is equals to dL by dt. The role which force plays in linear motion, the same role it plays in rotational motion. The same role is being played by torque in rotational motion. And let L be the angular momentum. L is the angular momentum. Now what is angular momentum all? L is equals to R into R cross P, that is R into P, mv. The angle was 90 degree, that means we had seen this. So this angle is 90, this is R, this is velocity is in this direction, so momentum will also be in this direction. So angle is 90, so R mv sin 90, sin 90 is 1. So angular momentum is mvr, mvr. So now if I will say that the torque is 0, then dl by dt will be 0, so L will be constant, L will be constant, right? Okay, what is L? mvr. So mvr will be constant only when torque is 0. Okay, so what is torque? Torque is cross product of R and F. This is what we have seen in rotational motion, R cross F. Okay, so in this case, sun is here, planet is here, right? Okay, so planet is revolving because of the attraction force, so force will be in this direction. And the position of planet from sun is this. So R and F are anti-parallel to each other, right? So the angle between them is 180 degree. So torque acting on the planet will be, torque is equals to RF sin theta. In present case, what is theta? 180. You are getting the point. So when planet is at this point, it will not experience any kind of torque. No gravitational torque will be acting on this planet because the force and position R and F are anti-parallel to each other. Substitute theta equals to 180. So torque will be 0. Okay. So torque acting on the planet revolving in an elliptical orbit is 0. Substitute torque 0, dl by dt will be 0. So L is constant. What is L? mvr. Come to our equation. dA by dt, which is equals to V into R by 2. I'll multiply this by M and divide by M. What is MVR? MVR, L by 2M. Now we have proved this, L is constant, 2 will be constant, mass of the planet will remain constant. So ultimately this whole term is constant. But what is this term equals to? dA by dt. What is dA by dt? Aerial velocity. Thus we have proved that yes, the aerial velocity of planet is constant. That means planet will sweep equal area if span of time is same. Clear? This was Kepler's second law.